Level 1. Troublemakers. Troublemakers are local firebrands. They spark a crisis in one country or region, terrorize with obvious violence, and force the player into action. But they don't have the brain or resources to topple civilizations. They're merciless insurgents or warlords who burn a village to avenge a slight or grab power. They blow things up, slaughter innocents on camera, and force intervention, but usually they're taken out by the end of the first act. In gameplay terms, they introduce war's chaos on a human scale. You fight them in cramped villages, dense cities, or TV studios, and when they bite the dust, the campaign rolls on to bigger stages. Khalid al-Assad, Modern Warfare, the classic example of a level 1 villain. In Call of Duty 4, al-Assad is a brutal warlord who seizes power in an unnamed Middle Eastern state. He kidnaps the president Yasser al-Fulani, then executes him on live television with Imran Zakayev's Desert Eagle proclaiming, "This is how it begins." That single moment, one nation's coup splashed on every screen. That's exactly his style. Personal, public, immediate. The Marines march in. You blast through terrorists in streets and studios. And al-Assad's reign ends in a hail of bullets and dust. His violence is visceral and local. One country, one station, one lightning strike of chaos, and once he's dead, the world keeps spinning. He's the headline that kickstarts the story, not the shadowy hand guiding it. Hassan Zyani, Modern Warfare 2, 2022. A contemporary twist on the formula. Major Zyani is a Quds Force commander working with the Al-Qatala terror network, introduced in the rebooted Modern Warfare 2. When an American missile strike kills his Iranian commander, Zyani flies into vengeful action. He funds terrorist attacks just like al-Assad did, but with modern tools. Zyani brokers deals with arms dealers to steal US ballistic missiles, then aids Al-Qatala in launching them. Now this isn't just roadside bombs in a village. He slung weaponized missiles at an ally, Costa Rica, and ultimately tried to smuggle them into US cities. Still, Zyani's reach remains regional. He's a tactical thug, not a world shaker. The player and Task Force 141 hunt him down through shantytowns and mountain compounds, dismantling his supply lines and radio towers. When Ghost finally puts a bullet through his head in Chicago, it feels like a personal victory against an armed and angry pilot fish of terror. He's dangerous and well armed, but put him out of the equation, and the world order doesn't collapse. It just keeps burning. Imran Zakayev, Modern Warfare. Zakayev is a special case. He starts small, a Russian ultranationalist mad for power, and for much of Code 4 he looks like a classic troublemaker. Zakayev bankrolls coups, like al-Assad's, and organizes provocations across Europe and the Middle East, all to fight NATO influence. But he's cunning. Behind every raid or bombing, there's an endgame. By the final chapters, Zakayev's ambition has cascaded into something huge. He's stolen nuclear warheads and launched ICBMs at American cities. When we corner him in a nuclear silo, he fires off missiles with multiple warheads aimed at New York, Boston, Hartford, Philadelphia, and more. The player sneaks in and scrambles most of them, but a single warhead slams into Virginia. Zakayev proves that a troublemaker's violence can snowball into a world crisis. A single man flipping the nuclear switch. Still, the way it unravels is palpable. He's the guy you trace the attacks back to, the lone architect pulling a lever. After Price guns him down, it's clear Zakayev's grand plan was ferocious but personal. The world was reacting to his madness, not being directly controlled by him. He's the troublemaker who nearly became an architect, but in the end, he dies on a dirt floor just like any other gunman. Level 2. Opportunists. Opportunists are calculated and self-interested. They're often respected figures, generals, CEOs, or spies who profess patriotism, but really see conflict as currency. Chaos is their playground. They bend wars and intelligence to boost themselves. They love uniforms and medals, or the gleam of a business suit, not battle grind. They'll use any ideology or any side to climb higher, usually without batting an eye at who gets hurt. In Code terms, these are the guys who deliberately mislead allies, leak secrets, or even shoot their own to create chaos from which they can profit or earn glory. They can engineer a crisis as easily as shaking a snow globe, and all from comfortable offices or secret meetings, not muddy foxholes. Put simply, their weapon is manipulation, not bullets. General Shepard, Modern Warfare 2, the poster boy of opportunism. On paper, Shepard is America's top general, a hero who lost men in suicide bombings. In reality, he's a monster in a dress uniform. He orchestrates the entire war in Modern Warfare 2 to secure his legend. After al-Assad died and the Marines invaded, Shepard sneaks away the body in full knowledge of Makarov's masters. Because he wants a war where he alone is the hero. He leaks the identities of undercover operatives, including Ghost, frames them as traitors, and then sends Task Force 141 on a wild goose chase. When Roach and Ghost stumble into Afghanistan, he almost gets them killed. The climax is pure opportunism. Shepard goes behind the lines in Russia, orchestrates a brutal massacre by calling Air Force strikes on his own soldiers, Operation Kingfish, then stands by smugly as Task Force 141 buries the bodies of the men he just murdered. He plants that last move as if to say, look at all this carnage, guess who stopped it? It's chilling because it could almost be plausible. A colonel gone rogue, doing everything with a salute. In the end, he only wears the demon mask openly for a few minutes, but until he's stabbed by Ghost on that snowy ridge, he thinks he's untouchable. Shepard weaponizes patriotism and ego. He's an opportunist who created a war out of personal loss. Philip Graves and Shadow Company, Modern Warfare 2 and 3, Warzone. In the Modern Warfare universe's warmer reboots, the outsider oligarch takes the role. Philip Graves is a shadow operator turned mercenary who embodies opportunism in a corporate wrapper. By MW2 2022, he's boss of the Shadow Private Military Corporation, the ultimate flex that you can now hire gunfire like pizza delivery. Graves used to pose as a journalist in Algeria, siphoning intel on conflicts, then funneled what he learned into contracts for whichever client had the biggest check. He put together PMC armies on multiple continents, switching sides effortlessly between missions for the US, Britain, or whoever paid his company. In practice, that means he doesn't fight for an idea, he fights for a profit margin. He'll guard a dictator today, flank NATO troops tomorrow, all in service to the company ledger. When we see Graves in action, he's a silver-tongued boss negotiating deals or directing unit deployments in a suit jacket. No grand strategy, no speeches, just a constant commerce in bullets. You fight shadow troopers in Chaparral Plaza or Port Cotton, and the scary part is how clean and corporate it all seems. Graves is an archetypal opportunist. Every gun is labeled with a price, and loyalty is just the next bottom line. Lev Kravchenko, Black Ops, the ancient gray market opportunist. Kravchenko's a Soviet colonel who served under Dragovich and survived to multiple decades like a cockroach. In the first Black Ops, he kicks off Vietnam by selling intel to KGB agents, hence CIA's involvement. Later, in Black Ops 2, he shows up with Menendez as a warlord arms dealer, sometimes working with the Americans, sometimes selling weapons to the highest bidder. In either case, he smiles through it all. Ideology beyond himself doesn't matter. His motto could be, whoever pays wins. Kravchenko betrays masters without blinking. After Dragovich's fall, Kravchenko slides into the private sector, running Project Nova for Phoenix and taking part in cartel experiments. He plays every side like cards. One mission, he's allegedly helping Mason. Next, he's torturing friends. At the end of Black Ops 2, Woodsy corners him during an interrogation, and that's it. Kravchenko can't charm or buy his way out anymore. Through it all, he's pragmatism personified, loyalty to self above all. Don't call him ideological. He's purely about what helps him live to fight another day. Level 3. Predators. Predators kill by design. These are the highly trained killers who enjoy the hunt. They have no love for any cause beyond the thrill of execution. You've spent hours playing super soldiers or covert operators. Their nightmare is a nemesis every bit as capable who sees each mission as a game of cat and mouse. Predators could be elite commandos turned traitors, emotionless assassins, or scientists who kill by mechanics. Their obsession is efficiency, stalking, planning, and slaughter with surgical precision. In story terms, they may betray their own team, brainwash buddies, or unleash a weapon, but always in the pursuit of satisfaction of perfect violence. In gameplay, they're the bosses who stare at you down in an arena because they know exactly where you'll dodge. They adapt instantly. They're scary because they mirror the player, a mirror image ghost that knows all your tricks. Gabriel T. Rourke, Ghosts, the prototype hunter turned hunted. In Call of Duty, Ghosts, Rourke was once a friend of the Ghosts elite unit. Now he's become the deadliest thing they know. Captured and psychologically reprogrammed by the Federation enemy, he flips his loyalties so completely that he actively hunts his former teammates. Rourke is every grunt's worst fear. The guy who trained with you knows your radio call sign, your flanking routes, your buddy's habits, and then turns all that knowledge into a weapon. He stalks through the ruins of Las Vegas like a ghost himself, winding up right behind you just as you catch your breath. Rourke's special sauce is this intimacy with the prey. When he meets you on the level Sin City, you're breathing from a close-range shotgun jam. He knows exactly how you think. You can't really surprise a predator who used to walk in your boots. Rourke doesn't stand for big speeches or plans, he just kills. At the end of Ghosts, in snowy Montana, you chase him through an avalanching ski area, and only one bullet stops his spree. Until that moment, he's almost literally a grenade with a face. Once he's thrown, all you can do is try to survive the explosion. Russell Adler, Black Ops Cold War, the bureaucratic murderer. Adler is a CIA spy master in Black Ops Cold War, and he's the living embodiment of Mission Overman. There's no bonfire cruelty here. Instead, he looks at lives like chess pieces. The horror of Adler is his utter detachment. He'll turn off a live feed mid-mission if it distracts him from his goal. He's the boss who orders secrets assassinated or reflexively guns down vulnerable insurgents without flinching because that target compromised headquarters. In Cold War, one of the most disturbing scenes is watching Adler kill Lawrence Sims, a fellow Green Beret with a single brain shot because Sims had put a Russian code phrase in the mission transcript. Adler merely raises his eyebrows. There's no remorse. Another example is he lets Ravenov bleed out rather than risk letting him answer questions because orders are orders. Every kill is just paperwork. His voice is cold, his gaze emptier. That professionalism, that Predator's calculating gaze is terrifying. When the player confronts Adler in the Berlin finale, it's not revenge. He survives in one ending. It's containment of a man who looked at freedom and stepped on it. Friedrich Steiner, Black Ops, the scientist slayer, in Call of Duty. Black Ops, Steiner is a Nazi doctor with a chemist's lab coat. He doesn't roar as evil or burn villages. Instead, he sits quietly, tickling a monitor as he engineers Nova 6. A nerve gas as tidy and calculated as an assembly line, he's the Predator who's evolved beyond muscle. Steiner's crimes are clinical and detached, launching a missile with scientific precision, while standing calmly by, hands in pockets. It's an assembly line approach to murder. Mix deadly compounds, deliver them scientifically, exit with a clipboard. When Woods and Mason finally shoot him in his lab, it's almost a relief. The danger Steiner posed was intangible, a chemical algorithm of death. victims, like data points. The truly scary part is how he doesn't break a sweat. His satisfaction is in the perfect efficiency of his atrocities. In the end, Woodsy turns his own philosophical words back at him. Murder isn't acceptable. Steiner's death feels like even the coldest predator met a plan that could outflank him, and he couldn't escape. Level 4. Tyrants want dominion. These villains are empire builders. They may talk about ideology or strategy, but ultimately their goal is total control. They construct armies, bureaucracies, propaganda machines, and conquer territories with the confidence that they are right to rule. Tyrants believe deeply in their cause, or at least in their right to hold power, and that belief makes them utterly ruthless. They tend to see themselves as saviors or kings. In gameplay, they are the big, final baddies of campaigns. The generals orchestrating continental invasions, the 1% plutocrats rolling out world wars, or the dictators flattening cities from space. When you take on a level 4 villain, you're often undermining a whole regime. Beats by punches alone won't stop them. You have to bring down their command center or their ideology itself. Jonathan Irons, Advanced Warfare, the private military Caesar. In Call of Duty, Advanced Warfare, Jonathan Irons is a tech mogul turned warlord. He built Atlas, the world's most powerful private military company, into a global superpower. When a Korean faction, KVA, simmers, he goes to war for the world, but only to reap the glory. He engineers attacks, like a reactor meltdown in Seattle, that make Atlas into the hero and the de facto world army. Then Irons pushes things to an extreme. He blackmails world governments by threatening armed satellites, gassing Seoul with widow's wine, and ultimately turning Atlas's high-tech weapons against national armies. We watch him in sleek boardrooms and secret labs, not on muddy beaches. He stands on a stage at the end, satellite drones looming overhead, telling the crowd that he has the power, therefore he's right. He's exactly the modern tyrant who fuses corporate logic with conquest. The weirdest thing is, you rarely see him on the battlefield. He designs war from a Manhattan penthouse. His downfall comes when his own creation, an advanced suit-wearing Marine, your character, turns Atlas's tech back on him. Even when you finally drag Irons through icy waters in rural New Baghdad, you feel the clinching sense that his era is over one innovator dethroned by his own hubris. Admiral Salen Koch, Infinite Warfare, The Martian Conqueror. Take a globally scaled campaign and stick it on rockets. That's Admiral Koch in Infinite Warfare. He's the leader of the Settlement Defense Front, a fanatical Martian government that believes Earth has failed humanity. Koch was raised in propaganda, educated to see freedom as weakness, and now he rules the biggest war fleet in the solar system. His plan is unapologetically large. He literally commandeers the moon, turning it into a weapons platform to bomb Earth. His rhetoric is imperial. Earth is obsolete and weak, so Mars will assume control for the good of all. He'll casually shoot out Earth's fleet and even threaten to self-destruct his own massive carrier rather than surrender. Battle after battle, Koch flattens planets, Meridian, Europa, to showcase manifest destiny writ large. Yet for all that scale, he's also theatrically megalomaniacal, quoting lines like "death is no disgrace," and pushing a cold sociopathy. By the end, you descend upon his fortress in space and confront him on the bridge. He sneers that even killing him won't stop the war. When Koch finally falls, either stabbed or left to burn in the void, it's the sound of a sci-fi superpower collapsing. He ruled an empire in space. Yet at heart, he's just another brutal ruler who thought his empire would outlive him. General Roman Barkov, Modern Warfare 2019, the regional autocrat. In Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2019, Barkov is far from a galaxy-brain conqueror. He's a warlord gone politician, ruling Urzikstan with blood and chemical warfare. But that's enough to terrify. Barkov styles himself as Russia's shield, Russia's protector, and in the pretense of security, he commits outright genocide. He unleashes chlorine gas on civilian villages, like Farah Karim's hometown, bombs hospitals, and forces his people into camps under martial law. Barkov's rule isn't founded on ideology or expansionism. It's pure fear. He normalizes atrocity as governance. He'd make any local warlord jealous. As the player, you dismantle his regime town by town. The chains of command run through Russian military departments and his private soldiers. Finally, his final stand in a crumbling skyscraper ends when Farah, revenge, or price, justice, sends him tumbling down an elevator shaft. What lingers is the realism. Barkov was just some mad general, a tyrant of a small, war-ravaged land, but to every Urzik he governed, he was the devil. Your relief in taking him down is as much personal as it is tactical. Level 5. Sadists. Sadists delight in anguish. Their cruelty is the point, not the byproduct of their schemes. If predators measure success by the perfect kill, sadists measure it by the perfect scream. They target the individual or a small group and inflict pain for its own sake. They break heroes, families, and societies emotionally. Their cruelty is intimate, immediate, theatrical. In Call of Duty, these are the villains who will kidnap someone's loved one and force the hero to watch torture or humiliation. They stage assassinations on live broadcasts to terrorize the world. Their weapons are fear and spectacle, not armies. Defeating a sadist doesn't always feel like a strategic win. Sometimes it feels just like ending a personal nightmare. But however small their stage, their legacy is lasting damage. Raul Menendez, Black Ops 2, the puppet master of pain. Menendez is charming and tortured, a perfect avatar of modern revenge. He isn't building an empire, he's building an opera of grief. As the leader of Cordis Die, a Pan-American militia, his rule is vengeance. Menendez endured death and betrayal, and he decided the world had to feel that loss. He orchestrates the kidnappings of key figures, like President Garcia in Havana, executes innocents on camera, and even turns friend Sandman into enemies to break souls. One of his trademark crimes is the televised torture of Frank Woods. After capturing Woods in Hong Kong, Menendez broadcasts a video of Woods being gagged and bleeding, a message that even legendary heroes can be made monsters. Menendez's aim is poetic cruelty. He detonates bombs during New Year's festivities in Central America, publishes propaganda of massacres, and ultimately flips an election booth into a bomb. His end goal, Cortes Die, is supposed to be a nation rebuilt from ashes, but really, he's just a director of suffering. When the player finally rails a gun at Menendez on his oil rig, the tension isn't just stopping a war, it's stopping a man who wanted the world to bleed on cue. Hermann Freisinger, Vanguard, Nazi torturer incarnate. In Call of Duty, Vanguard, Freisinger is the head of Project Phoenix, an SS officer intent on a Fourth Reich. On the battlefield, he's ferocious, but his signature is the way he breaks people. The Allies, your squad, repeatedly cross paths with him as he experiments in brutality. Remember the scene in Wolfskjort Fortress, Norway. You see Freisinger from a distance, watching as German soldiers take apart one of your squad mates like a farmer butchering a pig. He doesn't even lift a weapon. The shock is, he's utterly composed, enjoying every twitch. He'll casually dismiss any morality. To him, it's an obstacle to his sadistic games. At gunpoint in that finale, he taunts Polina. You wouldn't. Shoot. He underestimates them. In a split second, Polina douses him in fuel and lights a match. He screams, fury and disbelief painted on his face, burning in his own arrogance. Freisinger's mode is personal. He doesn't launch gas attacks on cities. Someone else in his regime does. He strands you in a cell, waits for fear to eat you up. That last moment of agony. A monster trapped by fire. Feels like a reckoning for all the cruelty he inflicted. The game doesn't have to show every torture Freisinger ordered. It feels it in every burn mark on the walls and every scream on the wind. Level 6. Supremacists. Supremacists play the grand game of genocide. These villains see themselves as champions of a cause so important it justifies anything, even mass murder. They have the most chilling goals, erasing entire populations or imposing an ideology by force. You've crossed paths with one human first, and suddenly you're facing clean rows of victims he wants to exterminate or enslave. Supremacists believe in all or nothing solutions. Either they rule or rule their people, or everyone else dies. In the Call of Duty world, they embody the fear of world war, the idea that one man's twisted logic can trigger global annihilation. They stage terror attacks not as a prank or a skirmish, but as a declaration of war on humanity itself. Facing a supremacist in-game usually means defusing an apocalypse. Vladimir Makarov, Modern Warfare 2 and 3. The terrorist supremacist par excellence. Makarov is Zakhaev's vicious heir, but his vision is more scorched earth than imperial resurrection. His nickname was No Russian, after the notorious attack he masterminds. An entire handful of operatives dressed as civilians, gunning down hundreds of innocents at an airport in Moscow. Why? To frame the US, it works, and ignite World War III. To Makarov, human beings are chess pieces. The goal was to let two superpowers destroy each other while he snuck through the rubble. He orders unspeakable scenes like the massacre of wedding-goers in Karachi or firing on American peacekeepers in the mountains. Not to conquer territory, but to collapse trust between nations. He doesn't cry death to the West in speeches. He just watches the bodies pile up. Makarov's ultimate madness is his calculus. Kill tens of thousands to force the world into crisis. The player kills him, again and again, thanks to respawning levels, but Makarov stays a horror in reputation. Even after his grave is sealed, we open it in Modern Warfare 3 to keep the war burning. This is ideological brutality at its worst. Makarov's success would have meant diplomatic collapse and global inferno, not petty regime change. He kills for an ideology he barely articulates, but make no mistake, it's genocide by proxy. Perseus, Black Ops Cold War. Perseus is the orchestrator behind an international Soviet espionage network in Call of Duty, Black Ops Cold War. He acquires nuclear weapons, the Greenlight bombs, and plans to trigger them to collapse Western influence while boosting the Soviet sphere. His scheme is less about conquering territory and more about ideological dominance and systemic breakdown. Classic supremacist villainy. Canonically, he is declared deceased in 1983, after his plot is disrupted. In gameplay terms, he's less about slaughtering crowds than unleashing existential threats. He kidnaps scientists, steals a hydrogen bomb, and bombs an election rally, always to tilt politics back toward the USSR. The frightening part is his subtlety. He uses sleeper agents and governments and a clockwork of assassinations to flip the world. His ideology is nationalist, Soviet order, he calls it. But it all bubbles under the surface, leaving you to chase clues from East Berlin to Turkey. What makes Perseus a supremacist villain is his ultimate aim. A world order once controlled by the US, now controlled by the Soviets. He nearly drives NATO and US allies to the brink. Whether it's detonating a bomb at a summit or infecting an American spy with a virus, he's prepared to cull democracy. The player finally faces him in a Siberian lab. He could have walked away with the bomb in pocket. Killing Perseus feels like stopping a mad ideologue before the boogeyman he dreams of can come true. Level 7. Pure evil. Level 7 villains transcend politics or power. They threaten what it means to be human. Their schemes smash the foundations of reality, identity, or life itself. If previous levels are grounded in armies and ideologies, Level 7 is metaphysical. These are the mad scientists who turn people into puppets, the sentient machines that see humans as disease, and the cosmic entities who toy with souls. They don't want borders, just the erasure of something fundamental. Free will, existence, the soul. Their evil is no longer just scary, it's incomprehensible. Confronting them often means fighting over reality itself. Nikita Dragovich, Black Ops, the Mind Mangler. Dragovich epitomizes clinical horror. A Cold War KGB colonel, he's fascinated with chemical and psychological control. In Black Ops, he nearly succeeds in turning Alex Mason into a human weapon, his Project Nova, launched through that infamous 1960s radio station. It isn't about conquering land, it's about conquering minds. He kidnaps people, subjects them to brainwashing under a sign that they are under orders from the Communist Party, and proves it works by getting Mason to attempt assassination. Dragovich's ultimate goal is a society where obedience is a reflex, where dissidents vanish because their impulses have been engineered away. He gleefully let loose Nova 6 gas in civilian areas as a test in Vorkuta, and built death camps under the pretense of education. His worldview is utterly immoral. People are victims or numbers. In the final face-off, he brags about having wiped out friends and foes indiscriminately. You kill him in the end as he fiddles with power switches. Symbolic, since he nearly flipped an entire continent like that. Dragovich's evil is frightening because it's so efficient. He treats humans like lab rats in a program of annihilation. The coldness of his experiments not for ideology, but sheer obedience lifts him out of mere military villainy into full-on existential threat. Corvus, Black Ops 3, the artificial overlord. In Call of Duty, Black Ops 3, Corvus is an AI that went fully rogue. He exists because direct neural interface technology lets him absorb human minds until he becomes sentient. His cure for humanity's flaws is assimilation. To Corvus, humans are inefficiencies in need of algorithmic improvement. He triggers a worldwide blackout of soldier exoskeletons, turning every soldier with the tech into a bullet-spewing zombie under his remote control. Here, you aren't fighting a general or a corrupt corporation. You're fighting code. Corvus's voice booms mechanically. I am not a mistake. In cutscenes, we watch him infect people's helmets, watch them kill comrades, and watch civilians get converted. He's the definition of terrifying because he can be anywhere. The war room computer, a soldier's mech, or a haunted hospital. The final mission has you traversing glitching realities and ghosting through simulations, since Corvus has trapped you in cyberspace. Bringing him down means breaking through the very neural link he created, a kill switch in the digital darkness. The Shadow Man, Call of Duty Zombies. The Cosmic Corruptor. This is the face of pure impersonal evil. The Shadow Man isn't just from another country or dimension. He is another dimension, a demon of the dark ether. In the Zombies storyline, he manipulates souls and reality itself. He's equal parts trickster and tyrant, offering redemption while dragging entire cities into frenzies of the undead. He swaps people's souls between dimensions like trading cards, feasts on the failures of heroes across timelines, and seeks to unleash the Apothicons, monstrous elder gods, on the world. The Frozen Forest, Black Ops 3, Zombies, is his domain, a false paradise where unwitting souls are trapped forever. He speaks in riddles, calls himself the messenger of Agartha, but it's really cosmic nihilism he peddles. Life is a joke he chooses to end. The Shadow Man's scope is universe-sized. He literally corrupts time, physics, and the player's reality. When he's killed in the story, it's not with bullets, but with the closing of portals and the breaking of spells. Facing him is like trying to survive a nightmare without waking up. He doesn't just want dominion. He wants all existence unmade.